Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Arizona.
September in San Francisco. Calendar may still say summer, a warm day here today, but tonight along the water there's a little bit of a chill in the air. This place has been very comfortable, however, for the D-backs this year. Diamondbacks have only lost once here all year long, 6-1 in this ballpark, and looking for their 5th straight win along McCovey Cove. It's D-backs baseball with Ruby De La Rosa on the mound on Fox Sports Arizona. And good evening from AT&T Park. Welcome to the broadcast. Steve Berthume, Bob Brenly along the way. It's the Diamondbacks and the Giants, the first of a 3-game weekend set here in San Francisco. And Bob, the Diamondbacks have been very comfortable here in this ballpark this year.
Yeah, go figure. I mean, the Giants have one of the best home records in baseball. They're 15 games over 500 here at AT&T Park. But the Diamondbacks have had their way with the Giants this year, averaging almost 4.5 runs a game. Pitching staff has done a tremendous job holding the Giants to a .211 batting average. Hopefully that'll continue here tonight.
And hopefully Ruby De La Rosa will be able to bounce back from his start against the Dodgers last weekend, the shortest start of his major league career. He's got a tall order here. He's up against Madison Bumgarner. Mad Bum almost threw a perfect game his last time out. He's been just about perfect against the Diamondbacks this season.
Yeah, and seemingly getting stronger here at the end of the season. You look at these numbers for Mad Bum, and actually those are pretty solid numbers against the Giants left-hander. Most teams can't put up those kind of numbers against Madison Bumgarner. A chance if they beat him tonight to drive him to 500 against the Diamondbacks.
He's got a chance to win 20 this year. The Giants still clinging to a hope that they can catch the Dodgers 7.5 games back in the National League West. First of 3, the D-backs and the Giants from AT&T Park. Coming up, California trip in 10 games in 10 days. San Fran, LA, and San Diego. The long haul begins tonight. More from AT&T Park right after this. Is brought to you in part by Cox Gigablast. How will you live the gig life?
by Lone Butte Casino. You're in for more winning moments at Lone Butte Casino. And by Jack in the Box. For a limited time, try the new Portobello Mushroom Buttery Jack with melted garlic herb butter.
Our exclusive coverage of Diamondbacks baseball continues from San Francisco, California, AT&T Park. Game 1 of 3. We continue to set the table. Steve with you and Bob Brenly of the call. I'm Todd Walsh here inside the Arizona Diamondbacks dugout. You know the drill, of course. Diamondbacks on the outside of the playoffs looking in. Couple of weeks left in the season. This is the last road trip of the year. So how do they play this? How do they play? They're taking on the defending World Series champs. A chance to maybe keep the Dodgers at bay in the National League West. Well, I can tell you that their manager, Chip Hale, has a specific way that he wants to see them play the rest of the way.
So we want to finish strong. I mean, individually, as a team, we want to get wins, obviously, but we want these guys to really, really pay attention to detail, situational hitting. The pitchers, come show us. Show us you belong here. Show us you're a guy that obviously can win games for us now, and we can count on you next year. So we're looking for a good, strong finish.
Chip, you've pitched well here. You've hit well here. You're going to walk away from this ballpark with a winning record. How have you been able to do that here?
Well, we've played very well. We have, and it's a good ballpark to pitch in, and our hitters have taken advantage of pitches up in the zone. We've been able to do that. 6-1, I think our record is, and also they were hurting at the time, so they're better now. They're 27-10, I think, in their last 37. So it's a different team. It's a different team. We know that, and we're going to have to bring it.
Diamondbacks manager Chip Hale grew up in the Bay Area, grew up a Giants fan as a young kid, then made his way over to fandom of the Oakland Athletics. So I'm sure a lot of emotions going through his head here, just on a personal level, as he watches and manages his team, the Arizona Diamondbacks, against those San Francisco Giants. All right, we're ready to roll here. A couple of the best in the National League and display here tonight in Buster Posey and Paul Goldschmidt, Steve Bethune and Bob Brenly will take it from here. They have the call. Game 1 of 3, first of 10 on the road. Stick around. First pitch in a moment.
Honda dealers, where you'll get more standard features for less money. CenturyLink, your link to what's next. And by Mix One, great taste, no face, available at local retailers. A lovely evening along McCovey Cove. Steve Berthew, Bob Brenly, and Todd Walsh with you. AT&T Park, San Francisco. Phil Nevin on the left, the Reno Aces manager, and Paul Goldschmidt on the right. Goldie and Buster Posey, not quite head-to-head in an MVP battle. The second half has gone Posey's way, but Bob, Goldie certainly feels at home in this ballpark.
Boy, does he ever. 321 lifetime batting average, 8 home runs in his 38 career games in this ballpark, nearly driven in a run per game. And that's against some pretty good pitching staff. Maybe not so much this year for the Giants outside of Madison Bumgarner, but he's done a lot of that damage against some real good pitching.
And Buster Posey is really making an MVP run. He's third in the league in hitting right now, just ahead of Goldie.
Yeah, kind of surprising to see Buster Posey, a traditionally slow starter, but always seems to finish strong given his position. That's a little bit surprising, but no different this year. You see his numbers against the Diamondbacks in his career. This season, he's hitting almost 450 in his last 17 games, so finishing strong for Buster Posey.
Yeah, as he always seems to do pretty well in the first half, but second half just off the charts, and that's been the case again this year with Posey, who is hitting over 400 in his last 17 games. So it's all order for the Diamondbacks. They're up against the Giants and Mad Bum. Will it be a San Francisco treat as we open up this long 10 games in 10 days California road trip? Ruby and Bumgarner. First pitch is next. The D-backs are 6-1 so far this year. They've won 4 straight here. They're up against your Arizona Ford starting pitcher for the Giants, lefty ace Madison Bumgarner. Tonight going for his 19th win of the year. No Giants pitcher has won 20 since John Burkett and Billy Swift did it in 1993. Here's D-backs hitting coach Turner Ward.
He brings 3 good pitches to the table: fastball, slider, and a curveball. He knows how to command his fastball. To me, that's kind of what makes him stick out a little bit more. That, you know, when he comes out with a slider that comes out of that same slot of his fastball, so it makes it tough to pick up. So, you know what, he's going to be a great competition today for the guys, and these guys always look forward to great competition.
Mad Bum already with his second straight 18-win season. He's the first Giants pitcher since Gaylord Perry in 1969 and 70 to do that. You see the ERA and the WHIP, both top 10 in the National League. And Clayton Kershaw and Max Scherzer, the only pitchers in the league with more strikeouts. As A.J. Pollock looks at strike one, Brian Knight, our plate umpire. And we are underway in San Francisco.
You heard Turner Ward talk about the four-seamer, the curve, and the slider. He also throws that cutter a lot more than he ever has in the past. And I think part of the reason he's so effective is he's a max-effort competitor, but he's not a max-effort thrower. He can work his fastball in the low 90s consistently and spot it on both sides of the plate, keep it down. If he wants to, he can get up into the mid-90s and elevate that fastball. Always has good command.
He's ahead of A.J. Pollock 0-2. A.J. 315, now 17 homers.
And throwing that slider right out of the same slot, same release point as the fastball. That's what makes any pitcher tough. When you can disguise your pitches to make them all look the same at the point of release, hitters are going to have a real hard time identifying those pitches.
A.J. sixth in the National League with that 315 batting average. He's even with Goldie coming into the start of this long road trip. Mad Bum's 7-1 in his last 8 starts. Tonight, he'll make it 5 consecutive seasons with at least 30 starts and 200 innings. The very definition of the workhorse ace. Pollock gets it started, knocks it into left, a base hit for A.J. And A.J. Pollock continues swinging a hot bat. A.J. is now hit safely in 7 straight. The lineup for Chip Hale's Diamondbacks.
And you see A.J. with good numbers here at AT&T Park as well this season. He's leading off in center field. Ender Inciarte in right. Paul Goldschmidt at first base. Wellington Castillo doing the catching. Aaron Hill with a rare start at second base. Yasmani Tomas also with a rare start out in left field. Brandon Drury at third base. Nick Ahmed at short. And Ruby De La Rosa on the mound.
And only one left-hand bat in there against Mad Bum, and it's Ender Inciarte who looks at ball one. No Peralta and no Jake Lamb tonight. Ender 297. He's got 4 home runs.
And this should set up perfectly for Ender Inciarte's game. You've got a tough left-handed pitcher on the mound. Just go to the opposite field. Matt Duffy drawn way in at third base. We've seen Ender slap that ball by those third basemen that come in to take that bunt away.
He does indeed take it the other way. Alejandro Diaza just shy of the warning track has it. And that's out number 1. Here comes Goldie. The Giants defensively around Madison Bumgarner tonight.
We've seen Alejandro Diaza out in left field. Angel Pagan in center. Marlon Byrd, the veteran, over in right field. It'll be Matt Duffy and Brandon Crawford on the left side of the infield. Colby Tomlinson and Brandon Belt on the right side, with Buster Posey behind the plate for Madison Bumgarner.
Goldie 9 first-inning home runs this year. A.J. Pollock, the runner at first, 1 out. Just underway here in San Francisco. Ball 1. Goldie 5th in the league in hitting at 315. 2nd in RBIs and 3rd in OPS. That one is off the glove of Crawford at shortstop. It's a base hit for Goldie. Brandon Crawford has been out a while with calf and oblique issues. Hasn't started in a game in about a week.
Yeah, for a guy that's been struggling with the oblique injury, a diving play like this, fully extended, coming down hard on that upper body, that couldn't have felt too good for Brandon Crawford.
So the Diamondbacks a chance to get something started here in the first against Mad Bum. Diamondbacks now with more hits against Bumgarner than the Padres had the entire game in his previous start when he almost threw a perfecto. Wellington Castillo, 2 on and 1 out. Well, he hit 250. He's got 19 homers. 50 RBIs, both of those numbers career highs. There's a strike, 1-1. Bumgarner coming off a 1-hit shutout of the Padres in his previous start. That was last Saturday here at AT&T Park. Took a perfect game into the 8th inning. It was broken up by a Melvin Upton Jr. ground ball base hit up the middle. He struck out 9, did not walk a batter. His second shutout this season, his 4th complete game. 1-2 now on Castillo.
We like to refer to him as the Upton formerly known as BJ.
Now known as Melvin. It's playing like a Melvin, whatever that means.
Well, of all the guys in that Padres lineup that you think might break up a no-hitter or a perfect game, he would be real far down on the list.
1-2. It's a roller to third. Duffy. Goldie coming in hard at second on Tomlinson. And that's all they'll get. Castillo aboarded first and AJ in at third. Here comes Goldie.
Kelby Tomlinson, welcome to Paul Goldschmidt. Wow. Right on top of him. Not even an opportunity to think about throwing to first base.
A chance for Aaron Hill now. They're on the corners with 2 down. Ball 1. Aaron tonight making his first start since August 29th. He's had only 3 plate appearances in September. Slowed down by that nagging hamstring injury. 233 and 5 homers. Chops that one foul.
Aaron Hill with a measure of success against Madison Bumgarner. A couple home runs and 3 doubles amongst his 10 hits. A .286 lifetime hitter against the Giants lefty.
Looking for a big 2-out RBI hit right here. A ball and a strike. Two and 1. Bumgarner misses up 3 balls and a strike. Yasmani Tomas would be next. Three and 2.
Shows you the confidence that Bumgarner has in his off-speed stuff. That was that breaking ball down and in on a 3-1 count. Of course, he knows Aaron Hill and how aggressive Aaron is when he has the count in his favor. He wasn't going to throw a fastball right down the middle.
Fly ball left field. De Aza. D-backs threatened but cannot get a run across. Just underway in San Francisco. And Giants, your Arizona Ford starting pitcher for the D-backs. It's Ruby De La Rosa tonight, his 30th start. He's lost 3 of his last 4, and coming off the shortest start of his career against the Dodgers last weekend, he lasted only 2 innings. Here's Chip Hale.
I mean, if you take out his starts against the Dodgers this season, his ERA drops tremendously. His wins and losses are better, obviously. His wins are the same, losses are less. So, you know, we just want to pitch like that. He's been good all year for us. I feel bad, you know, that one team has been his bugaboo.
And they're in that conversation. Chip told us his ERA is just too high for what he's done. It really doesn't accurately reflect the kind of season he's had because he's had so much trouble, Bob, with that one team.
And I don't think it's quite to the point where you will intentionally skip Ruby De La Rosa against the Dodgers, but that has been known to happen in the past. I remember a left-handed pitcher, most notably for the St. Louis Cardinals, Dave LaPointe. He was so bad against the Cubs at Wrigley Field that Whitey Herzog just wouldn't pitch him there.
Well, he's pitched very well here, Ruby, before at AT&T Park. He's up against Angel Pagan to lead it off for the Giants. And there's the strike. And Ruby, 8 of his 12 wins this year, he's had at least 5 runs of support. That Diamondback offense has been behind him most of the time this year. On the ground, Goldie's on it. Ruby covers, and they get Pagan. Nice play there by Paul Goldschmidt. America's first baseman, 1 down.
Boy, how many times have we seen that, partner? Looks like a base hit through into right field. Goldie makes a dive to his right. A perfect feed once again to Ruby to get the out at first.
It's always the feed that amazes me. It's always exactly where it needs to be.
And it's never a lob. When he has to throw the ball overhand, he throws it firmly. Gets it to the pitcher so the pitcher has time to catch the ball and then find the base.
And Ruby, a quick ground ball out. That's exactly what you're looking for. He's at his best when he's throwing ground balls. Here's ball 1 to Alejandro De Aza, the left fielder tonight. 261 and 7 homers. The Giants, his 3rd team this year. He's played in just 12 games in San Francisco. Giants have just been decimated by injuries. They are without Hunter Pence, Nori Aoki, and Gregor Blanco. That's just their outfield. All 3 of those guys are on the DL. And so De Aza is out there with Pagan and Bird tonight. Another slow roller. Aaron Hill. Good start for Ruby. 2 up, 2 down. The lineup for Bruce Bochy. And his San Francisco Giants, they don't have panic either in the infield. They're a mess right now.
Yeah, they really are, but I don't feel sorry for him. Angel Pagan led it off. He's out in center field. Alejandro De Aza in left field. Matt Duffy at third. Buster Posey doing the catching. Brandon Belt down at first base. Marlon Byrd out in right. Brandon Crawford back at shortstop. Kelby Tomlinson at second base. And watch out for Madison Bumgarner in that 9 spot. 5 home runs this season.
Matt Duffy, the rookie. There's a strike, 0-1. Duffy at 301. He's got 10 homers. No major league rookie has more base hits this year than Matt Duffy. And only Chris Bryant of the Cubs has more RBIs. Right back to the mound. 3 ground ball outs for Ruby. That is the recipe for success. A 9-pitch first, no score in San Francisco.
keys to the ball game tonight, and right is right. As Bert mentioned in that first inning, only Ender Inciarte, the only left-handed hitter in the lineup. Righties this year have 15 of the 17 home runs against Madison Bumgarner. And for Ruby De La Rosa, we hope he just stays in the zone. We talked about it in the pregame show. Always seems to have that little lapse at some point in the ball game where things get away from him. Great first inning to start the ball game tonight.
Tonight in the Ruby zone. Yasmani Tomas in left field, his first ever start in left field, and he's down 0-1. Seen Chip Hill do that a couple of times this year when there's a particularly difficult corner outfield spot. He will oftentimes switch his corner outfielders, and so you've got Inciarte in right and Tomas in left.
And this is a tough right field to play defensively, especially if you've never played here before. A lot of things to deal with out there. We've talked about it every time we come to town. You've got Triples Alley out there in right center, 421 feet away from home plate. You can see bricks, padded area, chain link fence around that out of town scoreboard. You've got angles on the brick wall. Ball might do anything out there in right field, but very short right down the right field line.
And that swirling wind. 1-2 on Tomas. An increasingly rare start tonight for Yasmani. For the moment, the wind blowing out to right center field, now toward the water. Chip Hale has said it's pretty much now just become Yasmani starting against lefties as far as a role for Tomas to finish out the year. He's been essentially reduced to a platoon player. Much of that also has to do with how well Peralta and Pollock and Inciarte have played this year. It's kind of hard for Chip Bob to sit either David or Ender against a right-hand pitcher, so Tomas, the at-bats have been few and far between.
Yeah, this is a business all about production, and what have you done for me lately?
He strikes out to open up the second. First strikeout for Mad Bum.
You want a pitcher to expand the strike zone, this is the guy. If he's got an aggressive hitter at the plate that will chase bad pitches, he'll go to that area. That time an elevated fastball got Tomas to chase.
Well, start tonight for the rookie Brandon Drury. 5 for 21 to open up his big league career. He's got 2 RBIs. I still can't figure out what Brandon was dressed as yesterday. It was a little unsettling. And with his professional approach, he was happy to participate, but he didn't look comfortable. 0-2.
Sounds like I should be glad I wasn't on the team plane yesterday.
Oh, it was a show, man. It was a show.
Well, that has really evolved. I mean, back when I was a rookie, the big deal was when you went into Atlanta, there was a shoe store there. And in the basement of the shoe store, they would put all the outdated models. It's
a little fly ball to center for Pagan.
You know, the Frenchy Fuqua platform shoes with the goldfish in the heel. You know, some of the things they couldn't sell, they would end up in the basement of this shoe store. So some of the veterans would go there and buy the god-awfulest shoes they could possibly find, and we had to wear the shoes for the rest of the road trip. Not quite the same as some of the outfits these guys are wearing nowadays.
Chip Hale told us today he thought the most interesting was Socrates Brito dressed up as a French maid. That was unsettling. And the most clever one probably was, I believe Aaron Hill came up with this, when they made Peter O'Brien dress up like a catcher. Peter was in his underwear and a full complement of catcher's gear as he got on the airplane. Nick Ahmed hops it up left side. Crawford, the shortstop's under it. And Bumgarner has a 1-2-3 second. Rookie dress-up day looked a little something like this. Prepare yourself emotionally. There it is. Captain America. There's Brito on the far right. The Cowardly Lion, the whole gang. What a group. who was outstanding in the first. 3 quick ground ball outs, just what you're looking for from Ruby. And there's ball 1 to Posey, who is red hot right now, as he always seems to be in September. Hitting .328, he's got 18 homers, 3rd in the league in hitting behind Bryce Harper and D. Gordon. And Posey has been on a remarkable run to finish out the year. Last 17 games, he's hit over .440 with 10 RBIs. Unbelievable. 2-1. And part of his recent run, BB, this homer Tuesday, he passed you for the Giants' all-time lead home runs as a catcher.
Oh, come on, Buster.
It's been a tough week for you. First the root canal and now this.
Yeah. Jeez.
3-1.
That quickly, just erased from the memory banks.
Well, it's a pretty good list. If you're going to get passed by somebody for one of your records, that's
I guess so.
A pretty good way to go.
And we talked about Buster and his strong finish to the season. I think some of that has to do with the fact he started 27 games at first base this year. I mean, we've speculated in the past that perhaps that would be the best move to lengthen his career and his effectiveness as an offensive player, but he's still pretty good behind the dish. But Bruce Bochy looking for opportunities to give his body a little bit of a break, playing him down there at first base 27 times.
They have brought up catchers Trevor Brown and Jackson Williams. Hector Sanchez is out for the year with an injury, so they have some catching depth to give Posey more time at first. He lifts this in the air out to Tomas, who got a bad read and a late break, but he's there to run it down for the first out here in the second. First career start for Yasmani in left field. Didn't get a great jump there.
Well, when you got Buster Posey at the plate and he takes a full swing, you can be fooled when he hits the ball off the end of the bat. Fortunately, Yasmani made a quick adjustment and makes that play coming straight in. This is another one of those big outfields, and if guys aren't real sure of themselves, they would always tend to play a little bit deeper. Another nice catch in left field by Yasmani Tomas. This one a slicing drive off the bat of Brandon Belt. This is aerobic defense out there in left field. Back-to-back pitches. Tomas had to come in and make the catch on the Posey drive and then go to the line to make the catch on the slicing drive off the bat of Brandon Belt.
2 down now. Marlon Byrd. Byrd 252 and 22 homers. Boy, Ruby set down 5 in a row. He's had a Byrd 0-2.
Ooh, almost fouled right into your living room there.
Bringing the heat. Marlon Byrd's been a good fit for this ballpark. He's played a dozen games at AT&T. Hitting over .360 here with 2 homers. They have really needed some outfield help with all the injuries they've had out there. Chip Hale said today his message to Ruby the same as ever. Your next start is your most important one. Don't worry about the start against LA over the weekend. And Chip told us today he has complete confidence that Ruby is going to have a great outing tonight. And he's off to a very good start.
Got him. Ruby De La Rosa, 6 up, 6 down, his first strikeout. As he blows away Marlon Byrd, we head to the third at AT&T Park. The Diamondbacks and the Giants, no score. It's Madison Bumgarner, Steve Berthune, Bob Brenly, and Todd Walsh here with you. And there's a strike. Mad Bum has retired the last 4 he's faced. Oh, 0-2. Bumgarner, as he always seems to, pitching better and better down the home stretch of the year. He's only lost 1 start in September, and that was a 2-1 decision at Dodger Stadium when he gave up only 2 runs in 7 innings. Prior to that, he was 5-0 in 5 August starts. His ERA for the month was under 1.5. And he drops that breaking ball in there for his second strikeout. He rings up Ruby to open up the third.
It's crazy good numbers from Madison Bumgarner. I mean, we talked a lot about the National League Cy Young, and we kind of overlooked Madison Bumgarner, but he'll certainly get his share of votes once again.
4 0-2 counts the first time through the Diamondback order. That's a pretty deep hole. AJ hits the first pitch right to Crawford, who knocks it down and recovers against Pollock. Quickly 2 outs.
It looked like that got a piece of Brandon Crawford's throwing hand there on that shot. Just had to try to block it on a hop. He was able to do that, but as he recovered and threw onto first base, he was shaking that right hand. He started to shake it right there and then thought, I better throw the guy out first. I got him pretty good.
Crawford has been out since September 8th. He was injured at Chase Field against the Diamondbacks. Should say he was re-injured. He's sat out the last 7 games, tightness in his left calf and an oblique issue. In fact, ARI AT has started 16 of the Giants' last 25 games at shortstop. Crawford's barely been in there. There's ball 1 to Inciarte.
In the local paper today, it was talking about Brandon Crawford. He missed 15 of the last 21 games, and the 6 he played in, he wasn't even close to 100%. And in that time, the Giants went from 2.5 games behind the Dodgers to 7.5 back.
Yeah, when he's been in there, he has really slumped. He's 4 for 44 at the plate. So it's been a tough finish here for Brandon Crawford, the All-Star shortstop. 2 down, 1-1 on Ender, who flied out his first time up. Giants, despite all the injuries, they've been playing well lately. They've won 8 of their last 11 games. Still 7.5 behind the Dodgers in the NL West with 16 to play. Two and two. Right back at you. That's 7 in a row retired by Mad Bum. Bottom third coming up, no score.
A part of 2 of them that I was dressed up for, been a part of 6 other ones. So, we wanted to switch it up a little bit, have some fun. We had some theme music for the guys, and hopefully they enjoyed it and had fun. And then down the road they get to do it to the rookies when they get older.
Steve and Bob, as you take a look around the clubhouse for dress-up day, I was told by an unnamed source that Gerald Saltalamacchio is more or less the sergeant-at-arms to the ringleader, which was Aaron Hill, which probably should come as no surprise to either one of you guys. Just a fascinating experience for all of us, being dropped off about 10 blocks from a hotel. These guys. I still claim, though, that Andrew Chafin wasn't dressed up, that he just wanted to be in the photo. He shot that theory down on the pregame show. Hopefully that'll get up on FoxSportsArizona.com. But there you have the team photo. This is a grind, as you all know, and you got to be able to laugh at yourself.
There you see Peter O'Brien dressed as the catcher there.
Yeah.
Second from the right. I thought that was the most clever idea.
They said, as Aaron Hill just sort of said in passing to me, as long as he has his gear, he ought to wear it. Without a shirt on the plane.
It was great when you got off the plane, too. We landed, was it last night or the night before, whenever it was. It was like, wow, this isn't Phoenix anymore. It's cold out here.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
I was told also that Randall Delgado volunteered to be the lion tamer if he could have his lions with him. And as you saw in the photo, he did.
2-1 to Brandon Crawford.
I won't mention this particular player's name with the Cubs back in the day, but he had to dress up as the French maid and liked the costume so much he wore it all night. Out on the town with the boys, out to dinner. Most of the guys get back to the hotel and change into their street clothes as quickly as they can. Not this guy. He wore it all night long and seemed to really like it.
Whatever happened to that guy?
I'd rather not say.
2-2. I've always heard the worst is when you have to do that going to Toronto and you have to go through customs like that.
Yeah. Oh,
That's particularly diabolical, it seems. Do they do? They don't do that in hockey, do they, Todd? Do they make rookies do stuff like that?
Oh, I have seen it now that I think about it. That's cold.
Well, put a guy in a lion outfit, he'll be warm, right?
Yeah, that would. I don't know if that would go over very well.
Hockey players have it tough enough.
Yes.
Ruby De La Rosa, back-to-back strikeouts. He set down all 7 he's faced so far. 1 down in the third.
The difference is if you tell a baseball rookie, hey, put on this French-made costume and walking up and down the streets in San Francisco, they'll do it. You tell the hockey player to do that, you're going to have to fight him. He's going to drop the gloves and get after it right there.
It's go time. Kelby Tomlinson. And that's where Twitter comes especially handy, because every team goes through this about this time of year when they get going on that last road trip, and all the teams, the players tweet the photos of everybody just to make it extra embarrassing for all the lucky rookies involved. Include Tomlinson on that list, 307 and a homer. Giants still without Joe Panik. He's once again on the 60-day DL with that back trouble, so he's done for the year.
And certainly when the Giants get Joe Panik back next season, I would assume he'll immediately be plugged back in at second base. And the Giants' plan for Tomlinson is to send him to winter ball, get him some time in center field, get him some time at third base as well as second base, and try to groom him to be a super utility player moving forward, because they really like this kid.
He's 25. This is his first major league experience. Made his big league debut the first week of August. And he's done well. He's hit over 300 his last dozen games. He's ahead here, 3 balls and a strike. Well, Ruby retires the first 7 he faced and walks the number 8 hitter ahead of the pitcher Bumgarner. First base runner for the Giants. And here's Mad Bum. And they get excited when this guy comes up to the plate here, because he can hit.
Well, that's what I was just thinking. Normally you walk the number 8 hitter. It's never a good idea, but you know, the pitcher's up behind him. He's probably going to bunt and give you an out, moving that guy up to second base, and then you just need one more out to get out of the inning facing the top of the order. But Madison Bumgarner only has 1 sacrifice this year. He should probably be hitting 5th or 6th in this Giants lineup.
He's got 5 home runs this year. So it's Tomlinson at first and 1 out for Mad Bum.
They were still talking about the at-bat that Madison Bumgarner had against Aroldis Chapman. Fell behind in the count as a pinch hitter, 0-2, and ended up working a walk.
All right, then.
One more bomb, they will tie the 69 A's and the 2001 Rockies for most home runs by their pitchers.
He's even fussy about the Manny Mota stick on the bat, the pine tar, that whole thing.
Yeah, he kind of lost the grip there on the bottom hand on that swing.
Ruby looking for a ground ball here. Get a nice quick third. Won't be it. It's foul. Ruby's at his best when he's throwing ground balls. Here's Mad Bum this year, and he can take it deep. 5 home runs, including 1 off Kershaw.
And that's not cheap. These balls are hit a long way.
There was last year he had a grand slam here against the Diamondbacks. 0-2.
Yeah, between Madison Bumgarner and Mike Leake, the Giants have 2 of the better hitting pitchers in all of baseball.
Jake Peavy. Hunter Pence still on the DL. Peavy had a home run this week. Hunter Pence starting to really look like a garden gnome. He's got to do something about that look. Another 0-2. Popped him up along the first baseline. Very shallow right now for Aaron Hill. And that's the second out here in the third.
There's Angel Pagan. Pagan grounded out his first time up. He comes into this series with a 6-game hitting streak. He has really rediscovered his offensive form, coming off a knee injury. He's at .265 on the year. He missed much of August with patella tendonitis in his right knee. The left knee's also been an issue on and off this year. He was out 20 games, just got back in the lineup on September 1st, but since he's been back, he's hitting about .310. Tomlinson, the runner at first, 2 outs. And hard to argue that Angel Pagan can be a force when he's healthy. This guy having a great final month here to really salvage something from his season. Bruce Bochy says even if he's not having a big day, he's a guy the other team has to navigate around. Tomlinson takes off. Here's the throw from Castillo, and it's a beauty. Got him. L.B. Tomlinson thrown out trying to steal second by Wellington Castillo. That one not close. Got a little messy down there, but they're able to keep the tag on and get Tomlinson to win the third. We go to the fourth. No score in San Francisco.
You know, you were mentioning about Angel Pagan, and Bruce Bochy says you always have to know where he's at in the lineup. And even though the numbers have really fallen off the table for Goldie recently, you know that Bruce Bochy knows exactly when Paul Goldschmidt's spot is due up for the Diamondbacks. Always dangerous, even when the numbers are not quite where you'd like them to be.
He singled his first time up. And Goldie leads off the fourth. You can see Goldie hit .340 during the first half of the year. But his batting average since the All-Star break has been .276. And the OPS during the second half has dropped more than 200 points compared to the first half of the year. There's the strike, 1-1.
I don't think any of us expected Goldie to maintain that pace he had in the first half. That was just ridiculous. But more recently, we've seen him swing through some pitches that earlier in the season he was driving.
He struck out twice against the Padres Wednesday. He has now struck out 19 times in 47 at-bats in September, so he's punched out almost half the time he's been up there this month.
Yeah, we had the comparison between Goldie and Buster Posey in the pregame show, and you know, it's one thing. Goldie struck out 90 more times than Buster Posey this year, but he's walked twice as often as Buster Posey has walked. A lot to like for both of those guys.
Hard to go wrong. Two guys that are so much alike in so many ways. 2-2. That ball missed inside. It's a full count, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Goldie, Castillo, Hill, 3, 4, and 5 here in the Diamondback 4th.
Anytime the D-backs score 5 runs or more, Taco Bell is giving away 3 free tacos with the purchase of a large drink between 4 and 6 the following day at participating locations.
And despite all the struggles we've just pointed out here, Goldie, you're still looking at a guy who's top 5 in the league in hitting, 2nd in RBIs, and 3rd in OPS.
I mean, even when you said he's hitting 270 something in the second half, I'm thinking to myself, that's pretty darn good. I'd take that. But Goldie has set the bar so high, and the expectations that he puts on himself, that the team expects from him, that the fans expect from him, it's not really realistic to expect anybody to maintain that kind of pace.
And there's another walk you were talking about. Goldie a single and a walk so far, and here's Wellington Castillo. Castillo reached on a fielder's choice his first time. What, you get it up in the air to right center field, it might go. That wind is gusting out toward the ocean. Wellington, 257 on the year now with the Diamondbacks. There's that win. 1-1. Castillo's got 8 hits in his last 7 games, including 2 doubles and 2 homers. And he's creeping up on Miguel Montero's Diamondback record for home runs by a catcher. Almost a borderline pitch out from Mad Bum right there. 2-1. Shattered the bat in half. It rolls to Duffy at third. A very nice scoop on a nice turn there by the rookie Kelby Tomlinson, who did a tremendous job to get the double play. And remember, the first time Goldie was on, he came in and just plowed Tomlinson. That had to be in the back of his mind as he turned that one, Bob.
Yeah, low throw. Would have been very easy for Tomlinson just to stretch out like a first baseman, take the out at second base, and concede Castillo reaching first. But Tomlinson didn't do that. He picked that ball out of the dirt, took one big step to get out of that freight. Well, he's not a freight train. Semi-truck.
What's bigger than a freight train?
Yeah, what's bigger than a freight train? But clearly wanted to get out of the way of Paul Goldschmidt this time after what Goldie did to him the last time. Big jump to the shortstop side and a jump over Goldie.
Keeps that foot on the bag, gets the ball on the short hop, and still makes the turn. That's a terrific play. Aaron Hill now. Right by Andy Green at third. Aaron flying out his first time up. His first start since August 29th, back from that hamstring injury. You were saying earlier that Mike Krukow was talking about Mad Bum's breaking balls, and now because he's got so much durability, it's still as sharp as ever. He's not fatigued this time of year, right? Like other guys might be.
Yeah, he said his breaking stuff is better now than it was back in April and May, which is a scary thought for opposing hitters. But This guy is just a beast out there on the mound. I mean, he has very little body fat. Kruko was telling a great story. This time of year, not only are a lot of extra players called up from the minor leagues, but trainers get rewarded. They get called up to the big leagues to help out with the expanded rosters. And he said Mad Bum will walk in the training room and pick up one trainer under each arm, dump one of them in the trash can, stick the other one in the dryer, and turn and walk away. He's just like a modern-day Paul Bunyan out there.
Wow, he's just moving people around. He's a big guy, 6'5", 235. Seems like he's been around forever. He's only 26.
That was another thing that Madison Bumgarner had issue with. You telling people I weigh 235, I weigh 255.
Oh.
So Kruko said, so you're a quarter pounder, huh?
Let him marinate on that one for a while.
This guy's a multi-talented guy. He can fix a team bus. We've told that story in the past in Colorado when the team bus broke down and he got a pair of pliers and a wrench and got in there and fixed the motor on the team bus so they could make it to the hotel.
Try it now.
Oh, man.
Weatherman.
Oh.
A little under the weather here. Tip of the cap, wag of the finger.
Oh, Mike Peckner. He's actually a meteorologist. Works with a local radio station and the local Giants affiliate, giving weather reports. That's his son over on the first base side, Ben Peckner.
For now, until he disassociates himself. No one's got a chance to stay fair for Belt along the bullpens, but it hops into the seats. Well, I hope the forecast goes a little better.
Yeah, you were talking about it earlier. It's supposed to be hot tomorrow.
Yeah, they're
possibly hit the low 80s.
People around here, they don't have air conditioning in San Francisco. Nobody does, it seems. So it's been an issue. 8th pitch of the at-bat coming up. He knew it. Called strike 3. 3rd strikeout for Mad Bum. He gets the double play ball after the leadoff walk and then rings up Aaron Hill. No score at AT&T Park. D-backs opening up a 10-game California tour here, the first of 3 at AT&T Park against the Giants. And so far, one turn through the order. Ruby De La Rosa has yet to allow a hit, just one walk. Angel Pagan, who was up there when Kelby Tomlinson was caught stealing to end the bottom of the 3rd, will lead off the 4th.
Boy, what a quick release once again by Wellington Castillo. Put that throw right on the money.
It's hard to remember last time somebody stole a base against him. He's really had a lot of luck lately. I mean, it's not close oftentimes.
And Tomlinson can run. He stole 49 bases in AAA last year, was 5 out of 6 here at the big league level this year, and he got gunned down by a wide margin.
That one missed away. 2-0. Pagan grounded out his first at bat tonight. Diamondbacks 6-1 in this ballpark this year. They've won 4 straight here. Ruby falling behind 3-0. Chip Hale said today, important to get this game tonight. Come out here, get a lead early and hold it. And he walks the leadoff man on 4 pitches in the 4th. Second walk issued by Ruby. Hey fans, time to tweet us your fan photo on the Twitter with the whole thing, the hashtag AZDataStrongFan. And you might see yourself in an upcoming Diamondback broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile.
See if Ruby can right the ship quickly. We've talked about it ad nauseum, that one inning or one stretch of the opposing lineup where he just kind of loses it.
You know what really helps him get out of those are the double play balls, the ground balls. There's Alejandro De Aza. Ruby's ground ball rate this year, 49% for the year. And even though it hasn't been especially effective lately, that still puts him top 25 of the major leagues among all pitchers in terms of ground ball frequency. That's still a career high mark for him. And he really does need to get back to throwing ground balls. Every start this year when he's really dominated, the ground ball and the double play has been a key for him. And he could use one right here. There's the strike.
Not to mention the fact that it seems like every time he does make a mistake up in the zone, it gets hit out of the ballpark. Even more reason to stay down, down, down.
Pagan, now that his knees are feeling better, running much more effectively as of late. 9 for 12 in a stolen base attempts, coming off that patella tendonitis in the knee. Back to the Angel Pagan of old, Roberto Kelly at third. Ruby behind now, coming off that difficult night against the Dodgers Saturday at Chase Field. 6 runs, 9 hits. He lasted only 2 innings. Just had one of those days, Chip told us today, that he had nothing. Tried to pitch on guts and guile and just couldn't do it. A walk to Pagan now behind on De Aza. There goes Angel Pagan. That's in the seats, fouled off.
Thank goodness Alejandro De Aza is a left-handed hitter and did not see the jump that Angel Pagan had over there at first base. That was Paul Goldschmidt-like. He just turned and took off for second base while Ruby was standing on the rubber. Yeah. But De Aza couldn't see that, obviously, being a left-handed hitter. His back is to first base, so he had a pitch to his liking and took a swing.
2 balls and 2 strikes. De Aza in the 2-hole. He's got Duffy and Posey behind him. Pagan bluffs and holds. Once again, it's fouled off into the seats. Ruby was talking about that all too brief outing against the Dodgers, and he said he's trying to figure out what's going on so he can make an adjustment, but he just could not find his release point versus LA. Couldn't command anything down. And if he can keep it down, he can get those ground balls. Pagan holds again. Once again, it's in the seats. This was the line Saturday at Chase Field against LA, the shortest start of his major league career.
Nearly 60 pitches in 2 innings of work. That was a labor.
He's at 50 right now, 30 for strikes. Uncle. They're all going to the same spot. A whole bunch of souvenirs for the section just down to our left. 8th pitch of the at-bat coming up. 4 straight foul balls for Alejandro De Aza.
Apparently De Aza thinks he's facing Robbie Ray. We see this happen a lot when Robbie's on the mound.
Yep. As Pedro Martinez always says, pitchers hate to throw pitches. Which makes sense if you're Pedro. Pagan goes again. Here's a fly ball along the left field line. Tomas is under it. Pagan has to hustle all the way back to the bag, and he makes it. Throw did not go to first.
A nice deke job out there at second base by Aaron Hill and Nick Ahmed. They had Pagan looking all over the ballpark. He didn't know where that ball was standing on second base when Tomas made the catch.
Yeah, he had a long way to go to get back there.
Yeah, that's where Brandon Drury could possibly help out a little bit. You've got nothing else to do on this play. Here's Pagan running with his head down. Yeah, Nick just kind of leaned in like there might be a play at second. And now Pagan has enough time to get back to first. I was saying if Brandon Drury would have gone out into shallow left field and started screaming at Tomas, first, they might have had a chance to double off Pagan.
But there's one out. Pagan on the dead run gets back to the bag, and here's Matt Duffy who looks at ball one. Duffy tapped back to the mound his first time up. Speaking about ground balls and double plays, this is the guy you want up here. Duffy, he will hit into double plays. He's grounded into 21 this year. That's second most in the National League. Only Yunel Escobar and Johnny Peralta have hit into more double plays than Matt Duffy. And that would certainly do the trick for Ruby. Get out of this 4th inning after walking the leadoff man Pagan.
A double play would also get the Diamondbacks out of this inning with Buster Posey standing in the on-deck circle. He would then lead off in the 5th. That's where you always want Buster Posey, leading off an inning if possible.
Well, that great jump that Pagan got on Ruby earlier in the inning seems to have settled in back there. They're keeping a very close eye on Pagan over at first. Right through the hole. Just a slow roller the other way. He hits it to the right side. It leaks into right. And that's the first hit for the Giants.
Just a perfectly placed ground ball. Aaron Hill shading a little bit up the middle of the field. Goldie holding on Angel Pagan at first. There was a big hole on that side, and Duffy just dribbled one through for a base hit.
And now you've got 2 on, 1 out for Buster Posey. Conference time. Castillo and Nick Ahmed at the mound. Brian Knight will break this up. Buster Posey flied out his first time, 0 for 1. Posey hitting .350 since the All-Star break. But he's got only 4 home runs in the second half of the year. He homered 14 times during the first half of the season. Angel Pagan at second, Matt Duffy at first. Ball 1.
In there for a strike, 1-1.
Good location on those sliders. Last one may have nipped the outside corner, but that's where you want to throw that slider to Buster Posey. Don't leave it over the middle of the plate.
One and two. Posey much more selective and aggressive at the same time up there this year. He's swinging at more strikes than ever before. Jumping on the good pitches to hit. In fact, the percentage of pitches Posey swings at that are inside the strike zone has never been higher in his career. Right about 70%.
I wonder how much that has to do with the absence of Hunter Pence and Joe Panik and some of the other offensive weapons the Giants are without. Maybe he feels like he needs to be more aggressive. I mentioned before, he doesn't walk a lot, doesn't strike out a lot either.
And in these situations, he's among the best in the business. How about Matt Duffy with that number as a rookie? He's over there at first, Pagan at second. 1-2 on Posey. Waves at that one. Ruby really got him to expand the strike zone there. And that's the second out in the fourth. Third strikeout for Ruby De La Rosa.
Threw the two sliders to start the sequence, then came inside with some fastballs, goes right back away with number 5 there. That slider well off the plate, low and away to get the swing and a miss.
Well, you don't see Buster Posey take a hack like that very often.
That's only his 50th strikeout of the season. He's had 54 walks. That was his 505th at bat on the season.
Pretty impressive, a guy who walks more than he strikes out. Here's Brandon Belt. 2 on, 2 out. Belt flying out his first time up. Ruby missed inside, 1-0. Belt comes into the series riding an 8-game hitting streak. Batting .345 during his streak.
Ooh, 95 blew it right by him.
Oh, I love that location right there. Gonna come in there like that. It better have something on it, and it did. They go down and away, don't get the call there, and it's 2-1. There's the strike, 2-2. Came in with that fastball and twice away. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Yeah, because that sinker out there in that same location. That's what he tried to do, moving away from Belt after a couple of backdoor breaking balls. Real effective pitch. I like the way Wellington Castillo's thinking back there tonight.
And when Brian Knight gave Ruby those strike calls out there, Belt's got to be thinking about that. 25th pitch of the inning coming up from Ruby De La Rosa. 2 on, 2 out, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Got him. 97. They came in with that fastball one more time and they got him. So Ruby has his Ruby inning, as it were.
And he survives. No score after 4. San Francisco. Steve Berthune, Bob Brenly, and Todd Walsh with you. Giants and Diamondbacks, first of 3 here. 2 day games coming up Saturday and Sunday at AT&T Park. Supposed to have great weather, so that should be fun.
I'm glad that was pointed out to me before the ball game. I just assumed every time we come to San Francisco they play Saturday night games. I'd have been waiting outside the hotel at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon waiting for the team bus.
Where's BB? Yeah, Diamondbacks continue this series against the Giants. Coverage tomorrow and Sunday. 12:30 Diamondback Live pregame show right here on Fox Sports Arizona. Patrick Corbin, Mike Leake tomorrow. Jeremy Hellickson and Tim Hudson Sunday. Yasmani Tomas, a strikeout victim his first time up, leads off the 5th.
Yeah, that'll be a rarity. A hot day game in San Francisco. We didn't have many of those at Candlestick.
Drove by the ballpark on the bus after we landed. Seems like there's still parts of it standing. Whatever's left of it. This is out to right center field, and that drops in there for a base hit, and it's going to roll to the wall. Here goes Tomas. He's on the run. And he'll stop at third. It's a triple for Yasmani Tomas, his 3rd this year. It got between Pagan and Bird out there and rolled all the way into Triples Alley.
Yeah, Pagan took a very shallow line, couldn't get to it. Marlon Bird was assuming that Pagan was going to get to it. He was just jogging over there to back the play up, and it got by him as well.
We got maybe the caboose, not quite the freight train. Caboose was saved for Ender Inciarte. David suggested that should be Ender's nickname. Have to come up with something for Tomas. So a break for the Diamondbacks. Here's Brandon Drury, the rookie, flying out to center his first time. It's more like a boxcar out there. Yasmani Tomas. Brandon was 0 for 2 with a walk in his start Wednesday against the Padres. That snapped a 3-game hit streak. He's at .227 on the year. We want to give a big birthday shout out here, BB, to Kimberly Riley. It's Kimberly's birthday today.
Nice.
Kimberly is the wife of our travel director, Roger Riley. So, Kimberly, there you go. Happy birthday from everybody here at the Diamondbacks and Fox Sports Arizona. She looks cold down there. It's a cold night to be wearing that. Kimberly's always fashion forward.
Yes, she is. Just like Roger.
That's why they're such a great match. Two and one. He did not go. That's Vic Carapazza down there.
Kimberly knows the good cities to visit. She's at Chicago. She's at San Francisco.
And she's been here often enough that she knows this is a very comfortable night in San Francisco.
It's true, comparatively speaking.
I'm sure she has a jacket down there. She's probably sitting on it right now.
Oh, Iggy's on the phone.
Iggy does such a great job of handling our travel all summer long, coordinating the buses and the planes and making sure everybody's where they're supposed to be and the crews are there when the team gets there.
There's the strikeout. That's 4 strikeouts for Bumgarner. Yeah, somebody has, in conjunction with Roger, has to arrange all these flights, and Iggy works for the airline and make sure we get to where we need to be. So Iggy Crandall down there with Kimberly Riley, and again, happy birthday, Kimberly. Nick Ahmed popped up his first time. Did you get Kimberly anything? I forgot to get something.
We could send her down some garlic fries.
Plenty of those to go around. That's a good call. She'd like some of that chocolate, I bet.
Oh, yeah, Ghirardelli's.
Yeah, that's
sure.
a good way to go. Can never go wrong there.
Cable car went off the track just a little bit.
They're bundled up out there in the outfield.
They probably feel a little bit more of a breeze out there on the landing, right on McCovey Cove.
Trying to get Tomas home from third. 1-1.
Hey fans, when the D-backs win, you win at Papa John's. The day after every Diamondbacks win, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at Papa John's. Enter promo code DBACKS50 at papajohns.com.
Along the left field line, that's going to stay playable for Duffy. Nowhere for Tomas to go, and that's 2 outs. Diamondbacks just need a ground ball to the right side here, but they've got a strikeout and a pop-up, but now it's Ruby De La Rosa with 2 outs. Ruby struck out looking his first time up. Crawford at shortstop. As Manny Tomas, a leadoff triple. Diamondbacks cannot get the run in. Still no score.
Bell was talking about Peter O'Brien catching Chase Anderson in a 4-inning simulated game today, and it sounds like Chase is going to get a start before this season ends. I was really fascinated to hear Chip and his take on Chase and what they were looking for from him, and just to sort of have a great feel for his game and his repertoire before this season ends. And we go back to what has been said and what we witnessed, I think, very, very clearly at the beginning of the season. He was one of this team's best pitchers, and they want to find that before we're all said and done here, right?
Yeah, there's no question. It was interesting. Chip said that Peter caught part of that simulated game as a favor for Chip, and they're still talking, Peter, about catching. But the focus right now on Chase Anderson. At some point, we're supposed to see him again on this road trip. Marlon Byrd leads off the Giant fifth against Ruby De La Rosa, who so far has given up just 1 hit. He has walked 2 and struck out 4 in a duel with Madison Bumgarner here. Scoreless home half of the 5th. And there's still a chance, we are told, that Peter O'Brien will be a catcher for the Diamondbacks. At some point, they will sit down this winter with Peter, Chip told us today, and figure out the best course to chart for that young man. Because the bat certainly plays, it's just a question of where they can put it. And Glenn Sherlock was telling me today, Bob, that he still goes through all the catching drills with Peter O'Brien almost daily, and Sherrill says that Peter does a lot of nice things back there. So it's not a closed book yet in terms of him being a catcher. 2-2.
Certainly this is just my own opinion, does not reflect the attitude of the Diamondbacks organization, but if a guy doesn't want to be a catcher, it's pretty hard to make him go back there and be a solid defensive catcher.
In the hole, Brandon Drury in front of Ahmed throws him out.
I mean, certainly Peter O'Brien could change his mind, as he smooths out some of the rough edges on his defensive game. As you said, the bat plays. I don't think there's any doubt. Everybody in baseball thinks this young man is going to be a big-time power hitter at the major league level, which even makes you more think about not putting him behind the plate.
We'll see where Peter ends up. Brandon Crawford struck out his first time up.
I mean, you've got to be physically and mentally committed to strap that gear on every day and go back there and go through the rigors of that position.
It's funny, that's the thing that he had really demonstrated all through the fall league, all winter long, working with Glenn Sherlock. He really worked hard on all of that stuff all winter long. He put in a tremendous amount of work on it. It's another swing and a miss. That's 10 swings and misses so far by Giants batters against Ruby De La Rosa. One and two. Crawford leads the Giants in home runs, but hasn't homered since August 6th. He's been out for a long time. Tonight's his first game since September 8th, so it's been 10 days.
We talk about a guy that's changed his reputation in the game. Brandon Crawford was always thought of as defensive first shortstop. Take what you get offensively. He set career highs in homers, doubles, runs, total bases. He's only made 12 errors this year.
And 2 years ago, he was a guy that you would have to sit down against most lefties, but he, a lot like David Peralta, has become more than adequate against left-hand pitching. And he and Nick Ahmed, both in the top 5 in the major leagues at any position in terms of defensive runs saved. Two of the best defenders in the business. Yasmani Tomas headed toward the corner. Can he run it down? Yasmani on the track, and he gets there in time. His first career start in left field. A nice play there by Yasmani Tomas. The boxcar.
Never takes his eye off that ball. We mentioned big outfield here at AT&T Park. A lot of room to roam. Never took his eye off that fly ball. Nice run and catch.
Wind has calmed down a bit. Sort of a gentle breeze blowing out to right center. Here's Kelby Tomlinson, who walked his first time. Giants still without Joe Panik, who is once again on the 60-day DL with back trouble. He's done for the year. And Tomlinson, the rookie, getting most of the starts at second base. There's the strike. It was good to see Ruby, Bob, in that fourth inning. That might have been the Ruby inning, as it were, when he started off with that walk to Pagan. Then Duffy had the base hit. But he has really righted the ship. There's a ground ball out. 5 in a row set down by Ruby, who so far through 5 innings has given up only 1 hit, no score in San Francisco. One continues to be your home for postseason action, the American League Division and Championship Series. Don't miss a moment of the drama and the history. It all begins October 8th on FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. 6th inning here. Pitchers duel. Ruby De La Rosa and Madison Bumgarner. Diamondbacks had a great chance in the 5th inning when Yasmani Tomas tripled to lead off the inning. But the D-backs could not get him home, so we're still scoreless as we start the 6th with the leadoff man A.J. Pollock. A.J. singled in the 1st. He's 1 for 2.
Maybe not so much in the National League unless the Giants can get some kind of hot here in the last couple of weeks. But that American League wild card race is really getting interesting.
How about that AL West?
Wow.
And the Rangers sweep 4 from the Astros. That was unbelievable. So now you got the Yankees in there, the Twins, the Astros, and that AL wild card.
The Angels are only 2.5 back. Cleveland's only 4 back.
Francisco Lindor. He might win American League Rookie of the Year, take the award away from Carlos Correa. Terry Francona's got himself a player right there. Here's a look at the AL wild card.
All right. Cleveland moves up to 3 games out of the wild card.
Mets beat the Yankees today. The Mets might never lose again. They got the Yankees in Houston right now. AJ, that one will get down, a base hit in front of De Aza. Pollock, a leadoff single. He's 2 for 3. And AJ has now hit safely in 7 straight.
Well, you just don't know how many chances you're going to get against Madison Bumgarner. Diamondbacks had a golden opportunity when Tomas tripled to lead off the 5th. Unfortunately, it was with the bottom of the order coming up, and Diamondbacks weren't able to do anything. But now with your leadoff man on, a guy as speedy as A.J. Pollock, another opportunity to possibly push across the run.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, it's getting late here. Still nothing offensively. You want to get aggressive?
I don't know why not. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy, because Bumgarner is so quick to the plate. You just saw it right there on that first delivery to Ender. Just a quick slide step delivery to home plate. And once again, all depends on what Dave McKay has garnered in his years of watching Madison Bumgarner on the mound. Maybe he's picked up something.
Got Matt Duffy a couple of steps in on the grass at third. Ender fouls off the bunt attempt, and quickly he's down 0-2. Slaps it the other way. De Aza near the line, and he tracks it down. AJ was almost at the second base bag there, and he'll get back safely. That's the first out.
Time to take a look at our cold hard facts, brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. Paul Goldschmidt making his way to the plate here. Highest OPS by an opponent at AT&T Park all time.
What's Chris Iannetta doing?
That's
right
what I was saying. Which one of these things does not belong?
It's good to see Chris having some success. That's a pretty random, isn't it?
There's a lot of things in this game that are random. Most of this game is random.
That's what makes it so interesting. Goldie has singled and walked so far. One and one. Goldie 2 homers, 7 RBIs in 7 games at AT&T Park this year. He's a career .321 hitter in this ballpark. Smashes that one down the line. It rolls to the corner. A.J. Pollock will get third. It gets behind De Aza, and A.J. will score. Here comes Goldie, and he is in there. 1-0 Diamondbacks. Alejandro De Aza, the ball got behind him. He couldn't cut it off, and the Diamondbacks take the lead.
Top spin liner down in that left field corner by Paul Goldschmidt. Just gets underneath the glove.
They score that a double, and E7 allows the run to score all the way from first. Goldie in there at third.
De Aza didn't look real smooth on the Inciarte fly ball down in that left field corner. Had even more trouble with Goldie's liner.
Wellington Castillo 0 for 2. That ball was smoked down that line. It got to that corner in a real hurry. A little too quick for De Aza there. Chance to pad the lead. 35th double for Goldie on the year. His 101st RBI. Oh, there's no RBI, right? No RBI. 1-1. For the right field corner, Marlon Byrd will watch it go into the seats. Got that little podium out there in the right field corner. Oftentimes you'll come here Sunday mornings, and Mike Krukow, it's sort of like the Pope at the Vatican. He'll be addressing everyone. They'll gather some season ticket holders, and Kruk will stand out there. And it's like Buckingham Palace or something. And all the season ticket holders sit there and they talk Giants baseball.
Now, you can correct me here, partner, but I think this is the first time I've ever seen this. Paul Goldschmidt sliding head first.
Pete Rose.
Now remember, he had some ankle issues. He turned his ankle slightly, and maybe he's just trying to protect that ankle. Maybe he felt that was his best way to get to the base.
Crawford coming home, throws off line. Goldie scores, and Castillo gets the run in. Reached out and rolled it to short. Crawford didn't hesitate at all, but his throw was well offline. And the Diamondbacks have a 2-0 lead.
Well, we talk about it all the time, the contact play. Everybody hates the contact play, but this is why you do it. You get that infielder to rush a little bit. Maybe he pulls that throw to the inside of the base or the foul territory and gives you a sliding lane, score an easy run right there.
You score that 6-2-3 on the putout of Castillo. He gets an RBI. And the D-backs get the 2-0 lead. Here's Aaron Hill.
Of course, Brandon Crawford's about the last guy in the National League you would expect to throw a ball away like that at home plate. That should have been an easy out for the Giants right there.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't ever want to see Goldie slide headfirst with those hands and fingers and wrists again ever, please. Looked like he hit the ground pretty hard there. He wasn't looking too good coming up from third.
What a difference it makes where you are in the order when the rally starts. You mentioned the Osmani Tomas triple to lead off the fifth, but then you've got the 7, 8, 9 hitters coming up to the plate. Nothing against Brandon Drury or Nick Ahmed, but when you get the leadoff man on, followed by your 2, 3, 4, in this case 5 hitters, you got a better chance of scoring a run.
Well, they have a scoring change now. They've given Goldie an RBI after all. It's still a double for Goldie. And E7 allows the run to score, but they have awarded Paul Goldschmidt an RBI, so that's 101 on the year. Little scoring change to keep you posted on there. 2-2 on Aaron Hill.
I think that makes sense. It looked to me like Pollock was going to score anyway.
Yeah. That's Adrian Gonzalez, probably not, but with A.J. Pollock, he deserves the RBI. Did he check? He did. Vic Carapanza, 3-2. Well, Aaron Hill, 3 at-bats against Mad Bum. He's gone full 3-2 every time. Weatherman.
He's just going to let Andy Green take care of that, or somebody from the Giants dugout. He had nothing to do with that.
Mad Bum now at 90 pitches.
Oh.
It's a cool place, man.
It is.
Mad Bum gets the strikeout. That's 5 for Bumgarner. But Goldie has the RBI double. Castillo the RBI ground out. We head to the bottom of the 6th in San Francisco, and the Diamondbacks lead the Giants 2-0. have a 2-0 lead now as Madison Bumgarner leads off the San Francisco 6th against Ruby De La Rosa, who's retired 5 in a row. And Ruby has still given up just 1 hit. That was a Matt Duffy single back in the 4th. He has walked 2 and struck out 4. This is Ruby's 3rd start this season here at AT&T Park. And he pitched one of the best games of the year in this ballpark. That was June 14th. Boy, he was good that night. He worked 8 scoreless innings against these Giants, had 6 strikeouts. And the key for Ruby that game was his ground ball efficiency. 12 ground balls hit against him in that ball game. 4 were turned into double plays.
And this is a good ballpark to throw ground balls. The infield grass very thick. Usually you get some moisture as the evening wears on. It slows down even more.
He strikes out Mad Bum. That's 5 strikeouts for Ruby. This was Ruby last time here. It was a Sunday afternoon, and boy, he was sensational.
Yeah, he really was, featuring a good straight changeup that day to go along with that fastball slider combination. Had some funny looking swings from Giants hitters.
That's the blueprint. That's the model. Keep that ball down, get some strikeouts, roll a lot of ground balls, and with his stuff, he'll be very successful. Pagan has grounded out and walked 0 for 1. It just shows you, Bob, the Diamondbacks have gone through so much the last couple of weeks with starters who go, and Ruby is among them in his last start, who go 2 or 3 or 4 innings or so, no more. And you get 2 or 3 of those in a week or 10-day span, and boy, it just kills your whole pitching staff.
Blows up that bullpen. That's when manager calls down to the bullpen coach and says, okay, who can pitch? Instead of calling down and asking for the guy you want to come into the ball game, you just have to bring in whoever is available.
It just creates a whole new sense of momentum when you can have a guy go out there and pitch very well up against one of the best in the business in Mad Bum here. And pitch like a top of the rotation guy. That's what Ruby has done tonight. Just sets a tone and tenor for everybody else, in addition to saving wear and tear on that bullpen.
Has an effect on the entire game. You know, your offense doesn't feel like they have to score 9 or 10 runs to win a ball game. You know, if you put a couple up there, our guy will keep us in the ball game. Defensively, everybody's up on their toes, ready to make plays. Yeah, you need to make a reservation to be in one of these dugouts.
It's Pagan. That kind of came out of nowhere.
Catches Wellington on the inside of the left thigh. It always hits either the catcher or the umpire after the batter gets hit.
So Pagan's aboard with 1 out for Alejandro De Aza.
Mention these dugouts. I mean, they're not the biggest dugouts in baseball, but they're usually comfortable enough. But with expanded rosters and the fact there's no bullpen, you've got all the relief pitchers sitting in the dugout as well.
It looks like the bus.
Speaking of relief pitchers, I see some movement down there at the end of our dugout. Looked like Randall Delgado taking off his jacket.
He's taken off that rookie outfit he was wearing. Andrew Chafin, Mark Reed, the bullpen catcher. Reeder will get going here. Delgado and Chafin, the righty and the lefty, are coming up on the sharp end of the Giant order here. De Aza at the plate, but he's got Duffy, Posey, Belt, and Bird behind him. And Ruby, having plunked Pagan seemingly out of nowhere, maybe setting off alarm bells for Chip Hale. De Aza 0 for 2. Of course, when you have no bullpen here, you have to get the pitchers warmed up. They come out of the dugout. You also have to have guys standing by on guard duty.
Well, looks like Josh Colementer's job right now.
Got a catcher sitting with their backs to home plate. Obviously won't know if a ball's hit down their direction to cover up. So Josh Colementer's duty right now is to protect those catchers.
Just play goalie.
He's even got a catcher's mitt on.
He's really embraced the whole theme. 1-1. Pagan holds. There's a strike. 1-2. Now Weather Dude on the other hand, not quite as poised for the big moment. D-backs trying to continue their winning ways in this ballpark. They are 6-1 this year here at AT&T Park. They've won 4 straight. Chip Hale told us, want to get a lead early in this ball game and hold it. An important win for his club tonight, he says. Well, they've got the lead. Now they just have to hold on. And the D-backs lately have looked, for lack of a better word, gassed. I mean, they're a little tired, a little sluggish. Fatigue is a factor. But Chip pointed out today they're coming off a travel day. They're rested, so he expects a good series here. Two and two. Somebody call time. Thank you.
You can learn a lot about your players and their makeup at the end of a season like this. Diamondbacks obviously not playing for anything other than pride and a spot on next year's roster. I've talked before about our 1985 season here in San Francisco when we lost 100 ball games.
Had some really good teams right after that.
Right after that, yeah. Well, and Roger Craig came in as the manager at the end of the '85 season and really just basically sat back and watched who's going about their business, who's still giving me an honest effort every day, and who's already cashed it in. And there were guys that were, putting new line on their fishing reels and cleaning their shotguns, getting ready for the off season, and other guys that were in the weight room getting ready for a ball game. Those were the guys that ended up sticking around. The other guys got to go fishing all they wanted.
3-2 pitch. There goes Pagan. That's ball 4. So Ruby struck out Mad Bum to open up the inning once he was handed a 2-0 lead. He plunked Pagan. Now he's lost Diaz. And he's got Duffy and Posey coming up. Time for Mike Harkey to make a visit.
I'm sure part of Mike Harkey's message is going to be what you mentioned earlier. You throw a good sinker down in the zone to this guy, Matt Duffy, you've got a good chance of getting a double play ball and getting out of this inning unscathed.
Yeah, Duffy has grounded into 21 double plays this year, second most in the National League. Hey, D-backs fans, we are excited to introduce to you the new Diet Pepsi. It's got the same crisp and refreshing flavor you love. Now aspartame free. Pick up some today at your local retailer. The new Diet Pepsi. So Ruby in another Ruby moment here. Let's see if he can navigate his way through this. Matt Duffy has tapped back to the mound and singled. He's got the Giants' only hit so far. Pagan is at second. Diaz at first. 1 out. He did not go, Vic Carapazza. Duffy, yes, he might hit into a double play here. He does that a lot. He also gets a lot of base hits. Able to check his swing right there. No major league rookie has more hits this year than Matt Duffy. And he can take you deep. National League has 22 rookies this year with at least 10 home runs.
How about that?
That's the most ever.
That is a foul ball. Duffy's got 10 homers. Well, you've seen outstanding rookies in both leagues. Talking about the American League with Francisco Lindor in Cleveland and Carlos Correa in Houston. Matt Duffy, Chris Bryant here in the National League. The list goes on. And Duffy, well, they've had so many injuries. He's been really valuable for them. 64 consecutive start tonight at third base. One and one.
After a short time, that position at third was a black hole here for the Giants after Kung Fu Panda went to Boston. But seeing how that worked out for the Red Sox, I think it was absolutely the right move for the Giants, rather than throw a bunch of money at a guy that you weren't quite sure what shape he was going to show up in on a given day.
And they're finding out. And the answer is round.
Yeah.
Well, Ruby coming off the tracks here. He's 3-1. He struck out Bumgarner, hit Pagan, he walked Diaz, and now he's behind on Duffy. 3-1 with Buster Posey on deck. Delgado the right-hander, Chafin the left-hander. There's the strike. So he's gone 3-2 on consecutive hitters now. About to throw his 100th pitch. That two-seamer sinking back in toward the right. He gets the strike. 99 pitches for Ruby, 60 strikes. Three and two. There's the ground ball. Aaron Hill will have one play, and they get Duffy. The runners move up. Now, if you want, you can pitch around Posey here with first base open. And then you could go to Chafin to face the lefty Brandon Belt. Posey has flied out and struck out. He's 0 for 2.
He pitched him great last time. That slider on the outside corner early in the count, then came inside with fastballs, and then went right back to the slider away to finish him off with a strikeout.
Well, Posey, you talk about a hot summer. Since July 1st, Buster Posey is hitting .358. He has been on a remarkable run.
He's had the second half that Paul Goldschmidt had in the first half.
Pagan at third. Diaz the tying run at second, 2 outs. We'll see how they attack Posey here. Attack might be the wrong word. That one is well off the plate for ball one.
And one way you can tell is how far off that outside corner Wellington Castillo set up that time. We've talked about it throughout the season. Wellington doesn't move a lot off the outside corner unless they intend to pitch around the guy. Then he will get out there in that left-handed batter's box. Yeah, that's about as far as you'll ever see him move off the outside corner.
Yeah, this is going to be a pitch around here. Brandon Belt against Ruby is 0 for 2.
Yeah, there you go.
Why take a chance that something leaks back out over the plate? Ruby struck out Belt his last time up. The left-hander Chafin is ready. That's the 25th pitch of the inning right there for De La Rosa. And the Giants will have the bases loaded and 2 outs for Brandon Belt. So Ruby in the 4th and now the 6th has gone over 25 pitches in the inning. And here comes Chip. So they will indeed go to Andrew Chafin here to work to Brandon Belt. Back after this. Is brought to you in part by Papa Murphy's. Love at 425 degrees. And by Phoenix International Raceway. Join PIR on November 15th for NASCAR. Visit us at phoenixraceway.com and get your tickets now. San Francisco, where the Diamondbacks are trying to hang on to a 2-0 lead. Bottom sixth there. Andrew Chafin has inherited a 2-out bases loaded mess from Ruby De La Rosa. And it worked to Brandon Belt trying to get out of this sixth inning. The numbers on Andrew this year. Brandon Belt has done pretty well against left-hand pitching this season. He's hitting .266 versus lefties, including 5 home runs. But he is 0 for 5 career against Andrew Chafin. Ball 1. On the ground to second, Aaron Hill, and Andrew Chafin comes in and puts out the fire. He leaves them loaded, and through 6, it's still 2-0 Diamondbacks.
19th, 2002. Now this is unlikely. Greg Colburn hits for the second cycle in Diamondbacks history. Only needed the triple. Little ballpark down there in San Diego at old Qualcomm/Jack Murphy Stadium, but able to leg it out for a triple. You can see how ecstatic his teammates were for him. And the ball goes into Paul Lassard's trainer's kit to be later after the ball game. Teammates giving it up to Colby. He wasn't used to hitting the ball to right field, first of all. And he certainly wasn't used to running out triples.
Well, here's Yasmani Tomas, who tripled into the left field corner his last time up. He's 1 for 2. He'll lead off the 7th against Madison Bumgarner. D-backs have out hit the Giants 5-1. They lead it 2-0. Two. Talking to Deshaun Watson, Diamondbacks Senior VP of Baseball Ops, on our last D-backs podcast, and Deshaun talked a lot about the swing you just saw from Yasmani Tomas. It's a different swing than we saw in the first half of the year. And one again right there. The swing has actually gotten a little longer. And Deshaun pointed out to us that when you see Yasmani take those kinds of cuts, you see the head come up and out of the swing.
I think one thing for Yasmani, a very easy thing, would be just to do some Pete Rose drills. Stand in the batter's box and track the ball all the way to the catcher's glove. It seems like when he gets in these funks offensively, his head flies off and he's not seeing the baseball as it gets into the hitting zone. He tracks it about 3/4 of the way to the hitting zone, and then the head flies off, the left shoulder flies open.
Yeah, the way Deshaun put it was, it seems like Tomas is really searching for his power, the power that we saw, especially to right center field in the first half of the year. And he has kind of labored a little bit, trying to get back to who he is, which is going the other way. Big cut there from Drury. And he's down 0-2.
Yeah, most hitting coaches, or if not all hitting coaches, will tell you the power comes naturally. You really can't try to generate power. You can't try to hit home runs, although some guys do. But as we saw Yasmani in the first half of the season, that opposite field stroke, it worked so well for him. As Drury goes down on strikes.
3 straight strikeouts now from Adbum. He's got 7.
Yeah, not only was Tomas hitting for a higher average, but he was hitting for power to the opposite field. Adbum just elevating that fastball up at the top of the zone in 92.
Well, we know he's got the power and the strength, Yasmani Tomas. It's there.
And that tells you that his evening is probably over. Chip will go with his best defensive alignment from this point forward.
Well, 2 down. Here's Nick Ahmed. Pitcher spot is due up next, and Peter O'Brien is in the on-deck circle. Chance maybe to get an at bat here against the lefty Bumgarner. Speaking of Peter O'Brien, let's take a look at our State Farm report of the ball game. The numbers on Peter at AAA Reno this year, playing for Phil Nevin. All Coast League this year. 26 homers, 107 RBIs in just over 130 games. He was a force. 2-1. Now Mad Bum over 100 pitches. He's behind on Ahmed, 3 balls and a strike with O'Brien on deck.
Now you hope Nick Ahmed reaches right here to give Peter O'Brien a chance. Otherwise, Chip will probably be forced to make a double switch, and we won't need a pinch hitter for that pitcher spot.
In the air, left center field. Pagano has it. And Mad Bum has retired 5 in a row. We stretch in San Francisco. It's 2-0 D-backs.
In the Subway Series, the Yankees and the Mets. Mets won tonight's game. Then in the AL Central, it's the Royals and the Tigers in the game you can see only on FS1. Coverage begins at 9:30 on Fox and 4 o'clock on FS1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. New pitcher and some changes behind him for the Diamondbacks. It's the right-hander Randall Delgado. Randall's 56th appearance of the year, a 3.22 ERA. They work the Marlon Byrd, Brandon Crawford, and Kelby Tomlinson. 6, 7, and 8 scheduled up for the Giants in the 7th. San Francisco still with only one hit in the ball game. That was a Duffy single back in the 4th. Changes behind Delgado. David Peralta takes over in left field for Yasmani Tomas. And Chris Owings at second base, replacing Aaron Hill.
And all those changes are straight up. So Chris Owings will hit in the 5 spot. David Peralta in the 6th spot, and the pitcher in the 9 spot, which means you'll need a pinch hitter leading off the next inning.
George Contos has started, or will start, throwing in the Giant bullpen. One and two.
I assumed there would be a double switch since Chip came out to alert the home plate umpire Brian Knight of the changes that the Diamondbacks made. Usually if everybody goes right into the same spot for the guy they're replacing, you just give the sign, wave your hand up and down, everything's straight up. And Chris Owings goes into second base, hits in that spot in the order. David Peralta goes into left field, hits in that spot in the order, and Randall Delgado is the new pitcher, and he will hit 9th.
And the pitcher spot will lead off the Diamondbacks' 8th inning. Delgado comes in and strikes out Marlon Byrd to open it up, 1 down. Oh, that thing just dropped off the table. Randall's been really good in this role. People speculate about him maybe being a starting pitcher, and he'd probably like a chance to start, but boy, he's been a valuable right arm back there this year in just this exact spot. Brandon Crawford. Crawford 0 for 2. He is struck out and flied out. Well, Brandon Crawford had a 13-game hitting streak end on August 20th. And he came up with a calf injury, an oblique injury. Missed a lot of playing time. But since that 13-game hitting streak was snapped, he is 4 for his last 46 at the plate. And really scuffling. Two and one. Contos, the right-hander, still warming up for the Giants. Looks like he'll get the 8th inning. Pitcher spot due up 4th in this inning for the Giants. And Randall Delgado has got it going. He strikes out Byrd, and now Crawford 2 down. Hey fans, as promised earlier, it's the Data Strong fan photo of the game. Tweet your strongest fan photo on the Twitter using the hashtag AZDataStrongFan. There's Jennifer with her Josh Coleman, her bobblehead, and her dog, apparently. Tweet us your fan photo for your chance to have your picture shown in a Diamondback broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Kelby Tomlinson. Boy, Randall's not messing around out there. He's ahead 0-2.
Kind of been watching that first base dugout to see if there was any tip-off as to who was going to lead off the next inning for the Diamondbacks. I saw Mark Grace run down the steps at the end of the dugout. As you know, the batting cages are right down the stairs here. And probably all the left-handed hitters, when they saw Contos start to warm up, went in there to take some cuts. And Jared Saltalamacchia was standing over near the bat rack just recently. Could possibly see him lead off the inning and then pinch run for him if he happens to get on. You could see Socrates Brito take the at-bat leading off the inning. We'll see how Chip wants to play.
Jake Lamb, another possibility. Peralta already in the ball game, taking over in left field. 2-2 on Kelby Tomlinson, and he got him. Randall Delgado strikes out the side. 1-2-3 in the 7th. Here's what's next, brought to you by CenturyLink, the pitcher's spot, then A.J. Pollock and Ender Inciarte. It's 2-0 D-backs. Summary: Diamondbacks got 2 in the 6th inning. Goldie an RBI double. Wellington Castillo an RBI groundout. So far the Giants have only 1 hit against Ruby De La Rosa, Andrew Chafin, and Randall Delgado. And we start the 8th inning. George Contos, the right-hander, had been warming up throughout that last half inning. But Madison Bumgarner will go back out there for the 8th, so Peter O'Brien will hit for the pitcher and lead it off. O'Brien, Pollock, and Inciarte, 9-1-2 in the Arizona 8th. With Mad Bum already at 102 pitches. There's ball 1. Peter 2 for 4, a couple of RBIs and a walk through his first 5 big league plate appearances. Two 2-0. Contos was not just tossing slowly out there on the mound. He was in a full lather down there in the bullpen. Kind of surprising to see Bumgarner come back out.
This could be his manager giving him an opportunity, pitch 1 more inning, and hope that his offense finds a way to push across some runs, maybe get him a win late in this ball game.
Well, Bumgarner rarely leaves things up to the bullpen. It's a 4-pitch walk to O'Brien. We'll see if we get a pinch runner here. Could bring Socrates Brito in, and that's what they'll do. So Brito will run for O'Brien. Second walk issued by Mad Bum. Dave Righetti to the mound. And now Contos will start throwing, as well as
that ball 4 to Pete O'Brien drew a reaction from Madison Bumgarner out there on the mound. I mean, 3-0 pitches, a lot worse than this, have been called strikes, and Madison Bumgarner gave home plate umpire Brian Knight a little extra look right there. He'd probably like to rope him and brand him right now.
Yeah, usually anything on 3-0 that's within the same area code is called a strike. That was a pretty good pitch. So it's Brito running at first. And here's the leadoff man, A.J. Pollock. A.J. 2 for 3, a pair of singles. I'm going to say Bumgarner usually takes care of his own ball game. He has had decisions in each of his last 14 starts. And he usually wins. He's 11-3 in his last 14 starts. We're talking about A.J. Pollock and Goldie and Buster Posey, some of the elite players in the National League. And you ask yourself, is A.J. Pollock the best center fielder in the game? And you can look at the stats, and that's one thing. No center fielder in baseball is hitting for a higher batting average this year. No center fielder in the game has scored more runs than A.J. Pollock. 1-1. Right back to the mound. Off the heel of the glove, Tomlinson has only one play to get the force on Brito, and Pollock's aboard.
One hopper right back to the mound. Mad Bum looked like he played it off his right forearm. And his throw was a little bit low that time to Tomlinson. No opportunity to turn that double play. Socrates Brito right on top of the Giants second baseman.
Ender and Ciarte now. Ender's 0 for 3. And Mad Bum just going to keep going here.
Bit of cat and mouse going on here between the base runners at first and Dave McKay and Madison Bumgarner on the mound. First pitch to A.J. Pollock, Bumgarner used a big leg kick, big high leg kick before throwing home, and then pitched out of the slide step the rest of the at bat. Same thing here with A.J. Pollock on first. First delivery was a high leg kick, and another high leg kick, this time with a pickoff move. Those are the guys that are tough to get a jump on. They aren't consistent. They might go with a high leg kick pickoff, then they'll go with a slide step to home, then they'll go a slide step pickoff. Give you so many different looks, it's really tough to get a good read and get a jump and steal a base.
I've seen so many Diamondback base runners get that just crazy running lead before the guy's even started his delivery to the plate. You're not getting that against this guy. Even A.J. with his 35 stolen bases. Quick to the plate. This is inside. 1-1.
Of course, ideally, Bumgarner starts worrying enough about A.J. Pollock over there at first base that he makes a mistake to Ender Inciarte at the plate. That's what speed will do.
And there goes Pollock. Ender reaches out and taps it back to the mound. Mad Bum found he had no play at second. They get in Ciarte at first, and Pollock is in at second with 2 outs. Here's Goldie. He's got the right-hander Contos down there, still warming.
Just a little tapper back to the mound. Bumgarner didn't realize A.J. Pollock was on the move, or thought he could still get him, and then at the last second realized there was no play at second base. Somehow managed to hang on to the baseball and still get the out at first.
Well, Goldie against Bumgarner tonight has singled, walked, and doubled. They got first base open. He'll get the free pass here, and they'll work to Beef Wellington. Maybe he doesn't want to walk him. Seems to be some debate here. I don't think Mad Bum's on board with this.
Looking into the dugout.
All right, then.
Try to shake off an intentional walk.
Looks like they talked him into it. And Goldie will get the free pass.
I used to have Rick Russell shake off pickoff attempts at first because he was so quick to home plate. We used to hope guys would run against him. And every now and then Roger Craig from the dugout would give me the sign to throw over to first. I'd relay it to Rick Russell and he'd just shake his head no and go into his stretch. And throw a sinker.
I bet that was fun for you. So 116 pitches will tie Bumgarner's season high. But Mad Bum the entire time just locked in on Goldie down there at first, almost saying, look, I didn't want to do that. They made me. He was having a running conversation there with Goldie the whole way down to first base. Sort of a disclaimer from the pitching mound. So here's Castillo, 2 on 2 outs. First pitch swinging. Lazy fly to center for Pagan. Well, Mad Bum didn't like it, but it worked. And he strands 2. It's 2-0 Diamondbacks. Randall Delgado works the 7th inning and gets the side in order. Randall Delgado strikes out the side. Our Chaz Roberts air conditioning. Cool play of the game. Ruby De La Rosa now 16 1/3 consecutive scoreless innings against these Giants. Ruby went 5 2/3. Chafin got a big out to win the 6th. Delgado a 1-2-3 7th. And now Daniel Hudson is out there for the Diamondbacks to pitch the 8th.
But the thing that was impressive about Randall's outing tonight, I mean, obviously he struck out the side. That's about as impressive as it gets, but they weren't close.
Yeah.
He was throwing fastballs by him, throwing changeups off the plate low and away. Just dazzling tonight.
Pitcher spot will lead it off, and here's Jared Parker to hit for Bumgarner. Parker 3 for 12 with 1 home run in the big leagues this year. It was his first career home run. He hit it Tuesday here against the Reds. Parker made his major league debut versus the D-backs on our last trip here to San Francisco, and that was the middle of June. He was here for only 4 days, went back to the minor leagues before he was recalled this week. They have a ton of injuries in their outfield. This was Parker against the Reds, his first major league homer. And it came as a pinch hitter.
He's a little bit of an all-or-nothing guy. He struck out in half his at-bats. But when he makes contact, he can hit it a long way. Dead pull hitter to right field.
Swing and a miss. Parker played just over 120 games this year with AAA Sacramento. Hit .283 with 23 home runs. Also stole 20 bases, so he's a pretty interesting young player. Bumgarner went 8 innings, gave up the 2 runs, only 1 earned. 5 hits, he walked 3, struck out 7 through 117 pitches. A new season high. Giants need every single game they can get. 7.5 behind the Dodgers with 16 to play. LA right now home against Pittsburgh. They lead the Pirates 6-2 in the 8th. Giants, with all their injuries, have really struggled to gain ground, even though they've won 8 of their last 11. But he goes 3-2 on Parker to open up the 8th. Pagan, the leadoff man, on deck. Over the last 28 days, the Giants have been able to pick up exactly 1 game on LA's division lead. Three and 2 to Jared Parker. Fly ball center field. A.J. Pollock in the gap, at the track, at the wall, and he's got it! A.J. Pollock, wow! Takes a home run away from Jared Parker and keeps it a 2-0 ball game. What a play by the D-backs center fielder.
You were just asking last inning, is he the best center fielder in baseball? He wants to prove that he's the best center fielder in baseball. Stole a home run right there.
That was gone, and A.J. Pollock brings it back.
Oh, my.
Parker just hit his first career homer Tuesday, had his second one right there, but A.J. takes it off the books. What a play. Here's Pagan. Shoots it out toward Peralta in left. That backs David up, and he's got it.
Boy, talk about a momentum robber right there. I mean, can you imagine that ball gets out of here?
You said the word robber.
Ooh, yeah.
Here's the highway robbery in left center field.
Well, you could see him break up his steps as he hit that warning track. He knew exactly where he was on the field. He started to shorten up his steps, getting ready to make that leap up against the wall and take a home run away. Yeah, if that ball gets out of here, all of a sudden it's a 2-1 game with the top of the order coming up and nobody out. It feels a lot different.
Alejandro De Aza. What a play by A.J. Pollock.
Wow.
Holy cow. Well, defensive runs saved, and overall defense factors in certainly when you're going to count the best center fielders in the game. And the point we're trying to make is A.J. is among the elite. You can take your pick. I mean, Mike Trout is Mike Trout. Andrew McCutchen's an MVP. Take nothing away from those guys, but A.J. Pollock is in that discussion. You want to look at just offense, the only center fielders in baseball with a higher OPS than A.J. Pollock are Trout and McCutchen. And that's not factoring in defense.
You know who would rate him as the best center fielder in the game?
Jared Parker.
Yeah, Jared Parker. And opposing managers. They know how good A.J. Pollock is. They've seen it.
That was just full-blown robbery right there. And the Giants still have only 1 hit. 1 and 2. Got him. A.J. Pollock, one of the highlights of this Diamondback season. He takes a home run away. It's still 2-0 Diamondbacks. What a catch. Premium. You can watch every out-of-market game live on more than 400 supported devices. You'll get real-time highlights, live look-ins, a pitch tracking widget, and a whole lot more. Visit MLB.tv today. See some highlights like one we just saw from A.J. Pollock. Changes for the Giants. Corey Guerin, just his third appearance of the year. He's on to work the ninth. And Nick Noonan will take over at first base for Brandon Belt. He'll bat fifth. Brad Ziegler started throwing for the Diamondbacks in their bullpen. Chris Owings, David Peralta, and Brandon Drury, 5, 6, and 7, due up in the D-back ninth. They lead it 2-0. First at bat tonight for CO. In there for Aaron Hill. There's Nick Noonan. Takes over for Brandon Belt at first base.
Noonan.
Sonny Hetty's out. How about Danny Noonan? CO at 237. He's got 4 homers. And a big 2-out, 2-run single Wednesday against the Padres. Chris has spent the entire season trying to strengthen that left shoulder. Operated on after last year, kept him from doing anything all winter long to get ready for this year. And it's been an adjustment. Says it's been frustrating. Just has not been able to be as consistent with that swing as he'd like to be. 2 balls and a strike. That's a good take right there from CO. Has been a lot more patient up there, certainly. We've seen a lot of that this month. And he hasn't been able to take swings like that when he's fastball count, dead or edge. Just go ahead and take a cut. But we're seeing more of those swings lately now that that shoulder's feeling better. 3-2. Oh, strike 3. Got him.
Celebrate Hispanic Heritage Day on Saturday, October 3rd at Chase Field, presented by Budweiser. Fans can enjoy a pregame street festival presented by APS, then stick around after the game for a concert featuring Latin recording artist Luis Coronel, presented by Sprint and Samsung. For tickets, visit dbacks.com. David Peralta coming up, Jeremy Affeldt coming in back after this.
Become a D-backs season ticket holder. Choose from full, half, series, or weekend plans. Check out all the exciting matchups for the next season, including an interleague series versus the New York Yankees. Visit dbacks.com.
David Peralta against the left-hander Jeremy Affeldt takes a strike. The veteran Affeldt. Not been a typical Jeremy Affeldt year by any means. He's had some injuries along the way. Peralta, this is his first at bat tonight. He's 9th in the league at 305. But he's got a 13-game hitting streak going, so he needs a base hit right here. Took over in left field for Yasmani Tomas back in the 7th. Affeldt missed inside, 2-1. David has hit safely in 13 straight and 21 of his last 23. Right back to the mound. 2 down.
And that revolving door on the Giants bullpen is spinning madly.
September expanded rosters. You gotta love it. We'll be back.
George Contos is the third Giants pitcher in this inning used by Bruce Bochy, the right-hander, and so naturally Chip Hale counters. He recalls Brandon Drury, the right-hand hitter, and here's Jake Lamb in from the left-hand side against the righty Contos.
Yeah, really easy move for Chip right here. Substitute Jake Lamb, the left-handed batter, for Brandon Drury. You don't lose anything defensively, and you gain a slight platoon edge here with the left-handed bat against the right-handed pitcher.
So Lamb hits for Drury. 2 outs in the ninth. By the way, just to really drive everybody crazy, we have another scoring change, courtesy of our official scorer tonight, David Bush. The Goldie double in the 6th, which was originally not a run batted in, was changed to allow Goldie the RBI. The RBI has since been taken away. So no RBI for Goldie on that double in the 6th that brought in the first run of the ball game. So he stays at 100 for the year. Didn't have it, then he had it, and now it's gone.
It might come back after the game's over.
You never know. 2-1. I have never heard more guys, I guess I could use the word complain, but certainly talk about the idea that something's got to be done about this roster expansion. There's too many guys back there in each dugout and bullpen. In the air, right center, Marlon Byrd backing up, and he's got it. Marlon Byrd takes extra bases away from Jake Lamb. Well, usually it's the Seagulls here at AT&T Park. A bird of a different kind making a running grab there. Brad Ziegler comes in, bottom 9 coming up. That was the Cox Gig Life high-speed highlights. He's converted 24 straight save opportunities, 26 on the year. A 2.03 ERA for Brad Ziegler, who gets the sharp end of the Giants order here. Duffy Posey and then Nick Noonan in there for Brandon Belt in the San Francisco ninth. Jake Lamb stays in the game, takes over at third base for Brandon Drury. Matt Duffy has the only Giants hit tonight. A single in the 4th. Diamondbacks trying to get through this ball game with the win. And if they can get through with just one hit allowed, It'll be just the 11th time in franchise history that's happened. This one carries out to Pollock in center, and he's got it for the first out. Last Arizona Diamondbacks combined one hitter, August 4th, 2009 at Pittsburgh, is Mero Petit and Leo Rosales. Ruby De La Rosa, 5 2/3 innings. He gave up just one hit. Andrew Chafin got the final out of the 6th. Delgado struck out the side in order in the 7th. Hudson a 1-2 3/8, and now Ziegler works the 9th. Here's Posey 0 for 2 with a walk. There's the second hit. And the Giants get the tying run to the plate with one down.
Buster Posey was 3 for 17 lifetime before this at bat against Brad Ziegler. That's a 176 batting average. I guess Buster figured, I'm not going to wait around and see that frisbee slider. I'm going to hit the first pitch close to the strike zone.
Well, there's Nick Noonan now, who checked in at first base for Brandon Belt. Just 10 plate appearances with the Giants all year. Bullpen will get busy for San Francisco. Casilla will start to warm up. Two. That almost hit Lightning, but he was too quick.
Too quick.
Lightning Todd Walsh. Put the gear on. Pete's going to wear Mark Reed's catcher's gear as Noonan strikes out 2 down. So it'll be Marlon Byrd. Byrd tonight 0 for 3. He struck out twice. Diamondback Live post-game show with Todd Walsh. Right after our ball game, reaction from the D-backs clubhouse, trying to start this 10-game road trip off with a win. And the D-backs would improve to 7-1 here at AT&T Park this year. Posey takes off. He'll get second base unchallenged. Defensive indifference. Out of play. Marlon Byrd, 3 homers, 25 RBIs in 25 games since the Giants picked him up from Cincinnati back on August 20th. One is fouled back. A strike away. Don't forget, fans, day game tomorrow. Diamondback Live pregame show at 12:30. Patrick Corbin and Mike Leake. Hellickson and Hudson here Sunday afternoon.
Have to be a little extra careful with the catcher running out there at second base. Buster Posey peering right into Wellington Castillo's signs, and certainly at this juncture of the ball game, you don't want to leave anything to chance. Make sure you know the signs and they don't.
A ball and 2 strikes. Got him. Diamondbacks get the 2-0 win. Good start for the D-backs as they chalk up another win here in this ballpark where they have now won 5 in a row. They are 7-1 at AT&T Park this year. A tremendous job by the bullpen.
And even though he labored a little bit in his last couple of innings, another solid start by Ruby De La Rosa. The offense did just enough tonight against one of the best lefties in the game. Come away with a Game 1 victory.
Yeah, Ruby went 5 2/3, allowed only 1 hit, walked 4, struck out 5, and the Diamondbacks open up this 10 games in 10 days road trip with a win in the first of 3 at San Francisco. Diamondback Live post-game show is next. Todd Walsh will have reaction from the field and the clubhouse as the D-backs find a way to beat Mad Bum and the Giants 2-0.